I will call this meeting to order, and we have in attendance myself, legislators Myers, Garozio, Robbins, and Chairperson of the Legislature Widish. We have County Manager Updegrove, Tom Burgasser, Mike Cassell, Economic Development, and Kathy Steinor is host of the meeting. So we have no one that needs introductions, I believe, and at this point, I will look for a motion to approve the minutes of the April 13th, 2020 Economic Development Committee meeting, and just state your name when you say that you made the motion.
Move it, Grosio.
Second, Robbins.
Motion, Grosio, second by Robbins. All in favor?
Aye, Collins is here.
Motion carried, and Will Collins is also in attendance.
Sorry about that.
No problem. Do we have another attendee?
Legislator Nemeth here.
Hi, Legislator Nemeth. Okay. Now on the old business for economic development, we have 4.0 on your agenda. Status of the New York Census Outreach Grant and Niagara County Census Outreach efforts. Mike Cassell, I know you've kept me up to date periodically. Would you let the group in on what the efforts have been in this challenging time? Mr. Cassell, are you able to
He's got to unmute.
expand on that?
Gotta unmute.
Got to unmute.
Okay, am I unmuted?
You are.
Okay,
You
good.
are.
We got to get used to this, guys. Thanks, Mr. Chairman. As of today, Niagara County continues to have one of the highest 2020 census response rates in the state. We are at 66.7%. We trail only Nassau County by a half of a percentage point. Now, when you compare our 67.2% to the state's average is 56.1. And when you compare us to the U.S. response rate, we're still much higher. The U.S. response rate is 60.8, so kudos to all the residents of Niagara County. Now, as a result of COVID-19, the Census Bureau did their timetable for conducting 2020 census outreach efforts. The Bureau suspended its field operations back on March the 18th. Field operations in the Buffalo office began with a phased restart beginning the week of May 25th. And that was the week that they started dropping off census questionnaires to households that don't get their mail at home, i.e. post office boxes, etc. Revised census timeline for the U.S. 2020 census program. Deadline for self-response has been moved to October 31st. Deadline for group quarters is September the 3rd. Then the non-response follow-up phase, in which workers would be hired by the Census Bureau to follow up with households that did not self-respond to the questionnaire, will begin August 11th and end October the 31st. Lastly, that grant that we applied for, the $220,000 New York State 2020 Census Complete Count Outreach Grant, remains on hold. That funding was to be spent on a robust outreach program coordinated by our department in partnership with Niagara University, the Niagara Library System, and other stakeholders. Award letters were supposed to go out March the 10th. Instead, New York State sent out an email on April 7th, which was the notification we received from the state. And I'm going to put it, as soon as we are able to restart the New York State 2020 Census Complete Count Outreach grant funding, we will immediately notify our partners. It's unclear at this time whether or not this funding is going to be made available, especially due to the state's looming budget crisis resulting from the pandemic. And even before the pandemic, the state had an issue with their budget. So we're on hold and we'll wait to see about that grant. And as soon as I hear something, I'll make sure we pass that along.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Cassell. We will move on to 5.0, commercial tax delinquent property update. Rick, do you have anything on that?
No, but relative to, well, actually we do. We've been working on the transfer of that the property on High. That's going well. But relative to the land bank, which is the next one, we'll be having our first meeting this month since I believe probably February. My understanding is that the city of Niagara Falls has sent us several proposed properties that they would like to see the land bank entertain. My understanding is at the next meeting, we will probably be discussing how it is we want to assess those properties to make determination as to their the feasibility for this program. We may or may not use our our consultant Belmont, but that is probably what's going to happen at the next meeting. So there will be a full agenda, and we'll obviously keep you apprised of what's going on. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Updegrove. We have, and he lumped in the 6.0 Niagara Orleans Land Bank Corporation was lumped into that one. The 7.0 Restart Niagara Working Group update. The Restart Niagara Group, legislators Widish and myself, and legislator Robbins are on that group that we were appointed to talk about restarting this county on the business side of things. The engagement with the businesses and the various different groups and sectors, let's call them, has been excellent. They've been very active participants, the same people you'd expect from the hotels and tourism. We got John Percy and Corey Schuler, and we've got a very good group of people in the farming industry from the malls. So we do have a good functioning group that is keeping us up to date. Legislator Witters, of course, with the on the regional control room, has kept us very much apprised of what's going on at the state level, which changes daily, and hopefully we can act in concert with them. We put out a call last week to our municipalities on that call to try to get the municipalities to streamline all their processes for getting restaurants to reopen and to increase their footprint. Some of them are going to increase outside, which you've seen some people already doing, and hopefully that continues. And we encourage the restaurants to work with the municipalities and have the municipalities see this coming so that they could make things as easy for them as possible. I know tomorrow we plan on meeting at a factory that's doing very well because of the pandemic. So there's kind of a flip side of the coin, and hopefully some positive news to come out of that. And we're continuing to push. I think if I read the room right, for the legislators, we've pushed to go forward faster maybe than the state has allowed us. But we're communicating that to the state through Legislator Widish to sort of make sure that our voice is being heard. And I would like to have her jump in here, Becky, if you have anything to add on your sort of the equation.
Thank you. Certainly, I think I've said this numerous times now that the regional control room was not exactly named appropriately, in my opinion. We have little to no control, as they call it. It's been more of a group where we can certainly advocate for our local businesses, ask questions. And I will say, as far as that goes, that those questions we ask, the ideas that we have or the concerns, they are making it back all the way up to the top of the state. I think that has been a benefit to having the lieutenant governor on our calls each day. She is moving that information very quickly back to the governor's office for us and getting responses. We tend to get questions from them, fairly quickly when there's an answer to be had. We saw that was evident with the Newfane nursing home when we sent a letter to the governor through that group, expressing our concerns there with the residents that were testing positive. So it has been a good thing for us to be on that control room and have a voice, as Legislator Andre said. We wish, of course, that we did have a little more say in the reopening process and how that's working, but at least I'm there, on the ground things and able to ask the questions of the people who are relaying those decisions. So I just want to thank, of course, Mike and your whole staff out at Economic Development doing a great job. Kathy, I know as soon as I get guidelines and things to you from the state, they're up on your website, very, very quickly. And that has been wonderful for our businesses. We've gotten great feedback from businesses, members of the community who've been utilizing that information because it's so easy to find all there in one place. So thank you. I did also just very recently get an email. I'm hearing that Lieutenant Governor Hochul will be touring some of our businesses tomorrow in Niagara Falls and Lockport in the afternoon. I'll be out with legislators Andres and Robbins in the afternoon, and then hopefully able to meet her out at the Lockport end of the tour so that she can see how some of our businesses are handling things and hearing directly from them, which she's been good about. So just thank you all for your continued support. We certainly have had a crazy few months. We have an amazing team in Niagara County, and I can't say that enough. Really, everyone has really just stepped up and in and made the best of this awful situation that we're going through. So thank you all again for your help.
And thank you, Becky. You've had, certainly the weight of the whole county on your shoulders some of these times. But thanks for being our advocate. We have a 8.0, the COVID-19 outreach to business. Becky touched on it, but Mike, do you have any updates on that particular topic?
Yeah, I do. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And let me add to it. Thank you for the kind comments, Becky. I'm extremely proud of my staff. I want to thank County Manager Updegrove. He's given the department heads the latitude to work with our employees, many of whom during the pandemic were working at home. I can say this, my staff's productivity has been at a very, very high level. So I want to just give kudos to Kathy, who's been tremendous, and the entire staff for a job well done, right, as we continue to reintegrate everybody back into the office. I just wanted to share some numbers with you because I think they're very, very impressive with regards to our outreach to the businesses. The page views on our website. When you look at that COVID-19 button that Becky, we promote on your show, and I know you've promoted quite a bit. The particular page for the reopening guidelines has been viewed over 5,000 times, and the other pages on that COVID button have been viewed over 1,000 times. Other stats: the website was visited by 6,291 users, for an average of 72 users per day, and those numbers triple daily. And that compares to the previous year, the entire year, where there were only 9,110 users for the entire year, 25 users a day. 36.3% of the users found us directly by typing in our URL or clicking on a link from the many constant contact emails that Kathy has put out. That's exactly what we want to do. We want them to click on a link and drive them to our website. We want to drive people and businesses to our website, which is where Becky said, and she's right, all that information is there in one place, and it makes it easy for them to use. And speaking of those constant contact emails, if you can believe it, Kathy Sinor has pumped out 30 constant contact emails during this pandemic period, which is about the last 90 days. And that's out to our database of about 1,800 plus businesses, and that database is growing every single day. That equates to about 49,203 emails that have been sent by this department, 15,447 of which were opened. And when it comes to click-throughs, 2,287 click-throughs, we believe is a conservative number, but is still 3 times the industry rate. This click-through number is the number that represents the businesses that are actively pursuing the content that we are offering in those emails. Finally, we're also very active on social media. Our Facebook page, number of Facebook posts during the pandemic period, 38, an average of 15.2 per month. Total Facebook impressions, this is the number of times any content from or about our Facebook page enters someone's screen, 16,676 total impressions. That's more than doubled the total number of impressions for the entire year last year. So since March 15th, our Facebook posts are reaching more than 13 times as many people per day. Now, this is attributable to both the content of our page posts, which are of significant interest, especially to businesses and residents during the pandemic time, as well as the frequency of our posts. We're posting an average of 15.2 times per month, or roughly every other day. This is also 2.5 times more than what we posted in all of 2019. So again, extremely proud of the staff, working very hard, getting the information out to the businesses in record numbers. And I just wanted to share those numbers with you to give you some kind of a feel for the fact that last year when our staff worked tirelessly on the revamping of our website, that was well worth it, because we would not have been able to do what we have done without a newly revamped website. So a lot of hard work is really paying dividends from the department to all of our businesses. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Fantastic. And another kudos to the staff who have been doing great work, even despite all this and the challenges. I just wanted to mention new business here on Amy Fisk and I were on a call earlier today as we received an award from the EPA, a large grant. What was that? 900,000 was it? Or I'm sorry, what was our amount there, Mike? 300,000?
Yeah, the grant was for 300,000, and there were only 3 communities that received money in EPA's Region 2, and that was Niagara County with 300,000, Camden, New Jersey at 300,000, and what was the third one? I think New York. New York with 300,000.
Yeah. So just to give a quick update, we were on a media call with their regional person from the EPA, and the EPA Region 2 that Mike mentioned was, I think it's New York, Connecticut, New Jersey, and I'm not sure if it's Pennsylvania as well. But anyway, a big swath of the Northeast is in this region, and we were one of the 3 that were awarded this large pot of money, and it was the other ones were sort of pretty well-known places like New York City and Camden, New Jersey, which is a big town. I think where Princeton is, and very impressed that we were able to be on this call because we were given the award, and the indication was that we got the award because of the things we've done through this program in the past. And they gave a little history. This Tom Perez, who's the head of this region, gave a little history on this and what people have done. And I noticed that we were the top money getter, I think, of those 3 entities, New York City, Camden, New Jersey, and us. We were the top since 1998. We were the top money getter at 7.5 million, I want to say. So just a very massive sort of undertaking to do those brownfields, as most of us know. But it would not be possible without Amy Fisk and all the work that she does and her staff, and the legislature, past and present, that have believed in the mission of getting these brownfields back on the tax rolls, redeveloped, and it was neat to say that for me to be part of that call, because it was an eye-opening. You hear these grants come through, and it's like some of these that everybody gets. Well, this is not like a participation award. This is very competitive, and because we've been so successful in the past, we were they know that when they put money into Niagara County, it gets out on the ground, and that's these places do get redeveloped. There's a couple more projects that are in the wings, and they'll keep coming, because we know this county has quite a bit of brownfield sites, and we are happy to turn them around. So I want to give kudos to Mike and his staff and Amy for all that they do, to make us proud out there, and to make, as we represent these old industrial cities, it's nice to see that we can, kind of turn them around. And I know it's made a big difference in Lockport, Niagara Falls, and NC, and some other places as well. So thank you again. Any correspondence today, Kathy?
Let's say good job, Rich. We appreciate all your efforts.
Yes.
Thank you, Will.
No correspondence today, Chairman.
Okay, and then for the good of the order here, anybody have anything that they'd like to relay for economic development?
Rich,
Yes.
this is where we want to talk, but I sent you a link this morning too. One very bad news that I found today is the extension of the U.S. border with Canada. I think that's going to be devastating. I don't know, obviously representing the town of Niagara and the factory outlets, as well as the business community and being all of us with Niagara Falls and being tourism. I don't know what we can possibly do. And I know, Becky, you're on the control room and saying there or whatever. But I think that's going to be devastating to us in Niagara County more than anyone throughout New York State. I don't know. Listen to anyone else's comments.
Yes, Chris, I had talked to Mike DeSalle earlier, and I'll let Mike give you a little bit of a flavor of what we had sort of discussed. And I know Mike's got a house up in Canada too, so he's a victim of this whole thing. But go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, well, thanks for promoting me to cottage, but still, and I'm lucky enough to have neighbors that I pay to cut my grass. I know many people don't have that option. But yeah, I talked with Rich about that earlier today, and I also called Kevin Schuler, discussed it with him. I know this is something that if you read the article, that both the President of the United States and the Canadian Premier have both agreed on. So do we want to look as though we're not in lockstep with our governments? I don't know. But what we need to do is communicate to our congressional delegation the fact that what are the metrics that we need to be following, or what do they think are the metrics that we need to be following to safely reopen the border in certain instances? I think Kevin is going to put together some kind of a draft like that, so that it doesn't look like we're totally not in step with the two federal governments. But there is like we talked about, Rich, you're right. And Chris, you're right. We're really affected because it's not only the goods and services and that's being traded, but it's people that go back and forth, and that's a big tourism industry that we're talking about in both Niagara and also in Erie County as well, in the city of Buffalo. So, and I know the partnership has chimed in on this, and I know that Buffalo Niagara, the Visit Buffalo Niagara group under Pat Taylor also chimed in on this too. So I don't know if anyone else agrees, but I think that might be the strategy that we want to follow. Reach out to our congressional delegation and talk to them about what types of metrics that we're looking at to possibly reopen safely as soon as we can.
Mike, I have a call into Congressman Higgins' office today. I left a message regarding this issue. I have not heard back at this point.
Yeah, Rich, I think that's certainly something I can bring up on the regional control room too, because I do have the lieutenant governor's ear at that point. Yeah, I mean, certainly as county officials, we're not going to have a lot at the federal level, but I think the more we can engage those state officials, the better off we're going to be. I also don't know how much our governor and lieutenant governor can work with the president on these issues as well, but I think it's important to have them at least acknowledging the issues that that's going to create for us here. And I know I've had those conversations with the lieutenant governor in the past. Being from this area, she understands completely how we're affected by the border here more than many counties across the state, obviously. So I can continue to have those conversations as well. I think we just need to have all of those state officials advocating for us. I participated in a web call last week with our counterparts on the Canadian side, which was a very good conversation. But of course, at that point, we were, I think, talking more and hoping more that we were talking about what it would look like when we did open up and how we can help our residents through that process and educate them about what they need to know on one side versus the other. But I can tell you there was a lot of hesitancy on the part of those Canadian officials locally. They're not only dealing with the potential influx of U.S. visitors, knowing that we've had higher numbers here in New York State, but they're also dealing with the tourists that come down from the greater Toronto area and those big cities there. So they're feeling like they're getting hit really from both ends. And I think that plays a little bit into this and their reluctance to have twice as many people entering those areas, from their own country and from ours. But again, I will continue to have those conversations with the Lieutenant Governor as well. But I think getting the congressman involved, another great step.
I also reached out to Niagara University, just a heads up, but they obviously they have students that are not being able to go back and forth, and it's affecting enrollment too. And I told them the same thing, almost what Rich did today is, maybe write a letter to Congressman Higgins and go that route. I don't know, and I don't want to give my motive away too. I'm a cottage owner up there too, so so I'm fighting real hard to get to my cottage as well. But with that being said, though, is I think for the Canadians, they're some of those businesses there are happy as can be because they're not losing their business to the American side, coming over to shop and do things like that. So they're fighting on the other end at half of the time to say, don't open it. I don't know. That's just an opinion.
That could be, and we are, of course, we're very much tied to that sales tax figure as well. So, I'm seeing that as sort of a potential devastating blow. I will mention, this didn't come up before our restart meeting yesterday or the other day, so we'll have to talk about this because it's certainly going to affect that sector tremendously. A lot of the hotels and things like that. We hope to keep people here and on this side and spending money on this side, but we'll see if we can to capitalize it on that end. But the mall is going to suffer for certain. So. Other things for the good of the order, anybody?
Rich, it's Chris again. I'm sorry, I just wrote a lot of stuff down. I guess I'm home too much during the day today. Another concern I had, and this is probably for Chairman Whittish as well. Recreation, have they talked about anything in moving recreation around? I know right now that, again, some of it's selfish. I got 2 kids that play baseball, but I know many teams are now just traveling to Ohio. And we have like 10 teams. I looked at a registration in a Ohio tournament. They had 12 teams from Western New York in a tournament. So, I mean, we're just giving money away at this point.
There are definitely discussions happening, Chris. I think you guys know well enough by now. I don't get a lot of heads up ahead of when things are announced officially, but we were told on a call that they are currently working on guidelines for summer sports programs. We've seen, obviously, the governor step back from his phased approach slightly in that, we randomly get announcements that certain things are opening up statewide, no matter what phase you're in. They're increasing things like graduation ceremony number capacities. So we did get indication that that is currently in the works, and they don't have definites yet to tell us, but I think you're going to see some movement in the sports program soon. Just like we did with day camps that kind of came up sooner than we expected them to. So because you're right, we are losing a lot of that to other areas because parents have had these kids home for months now. And, those sports are very important to them for a lot of reasons. I mean, it's, it's not just the physical activity, it's the mental need to get out and about and do something at this point with your kids. So I agree. And as soon as I hear something more on that, I'll let you know. But I would say indications that things are heading in the right direction, that we might start to hear something soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have, my kids home as well. So if I could ship them off to Ohio, at this point, maybe that'd be, we'll enroll them in whatever Ohio's got going on. We'll give them over there. But anyway, I wanted to thank everybody for jumping on this WebEx. We'll see if next meeting we can do in person, or if we got to do it like this. We have yet to decide, have we, at this point? So we will continue to do those good things. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I don't know, how many kids could we ship off to Ohio? Is like a number on that or what?
All of them.
Just curiosity.
Depends on the.
I'll ask Legislator Collins. I'll find out.
I appreciate it. Yeah, just
No
just for
problem.
curiosity's sake. Okay. If not, I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Okay,
I'll second Rich. Everybody in the pool.
Yeah.
Second by Grozio, everybody in the pool. Okay. For those of us that are on for the Greenway Ad Hoc Committee, stay on the line, I believe, right, Kathy?